What's up everybody? Today we're going to be pulling the engine out of the white car here behind me. Right now it has an H22A in it and it let go the last time we ran it. It needs to come out. We're going to put a K24A back into its place and it will be a similar setup to what is in stage fright. My dad's going to get to work on pulling this motor out. I'm going to be taking care of some other stuff around the shop. Here we go. For the K24 swap that's going into this car, we're gonna have to move a couple bars and stuff because of the way that the H motor sits compared to the K-Series motor. The K-Series motor, the engine actually sits on the passenger side of the car. With the H-Series, it sits on the driver's side. Got a few things to change, a lot of work to do, but I think the K-Series motor is gonna be better than the H in the long run. All right guys, we've been making some pretty good progress on getting the white car ready for this K24 swap. I had to go through and move a couple bars. While I was doing that, I wanted to cut some of the old unibody out and make room for a bigger tire. That was a big limiting factor that has been an issue in the past because if we ran a tire that was too big, it would actually limit the travel because the tire would just run into that unibody. Let me show you what we got going on here. So before we had a bar that ran right through here and attached to that strut tower. So now you can see I moved that bar over here and cut all this mumbo jumbo out right there. Made a bar to kind of support the strut tower. Now we should be able to run a bigger tire and have no issues with clearance at all. This car was wrecked pretty bad last year. You can kind of see that it's bent right there and bent right here. I'm really hoping it doesn't make it a pain to get the motor in here, but we'll see. One thing I also have to do tonight is rebuild the transmission that will be going into this car. It's the transmission that is notorious for having a bungee cord holding it in third gear. It's time we get that thing fixed. I'm gonna pull it apart. Thinking it's probably a synchro that's either broken or a synchro ring that's bad. Hopefully it's a easy fix so we can get this thing back together and drop that motor in. All right, so I've gotten the transmission all cleaned up and back together. We did have a few broken synchros. I got those all swapped out. The case is ready to go back on and we should be finished up with this thing. Yeah, these were my first and second gear synchros right here. As you can see, they're just destroyed. And then that was my third gear synchro. And it's not broken, but you know, it's extremely worn. You see how that's just moving around in there? That's not good, and the spring clips look pretty bad too. So all that stuff was probably why it wouldn't stay in gear. I know it wouldn't stay in third gear or second gear, but I never really ran second gear because I couldn't clear tires that were big enough. With this new setup, should be good to go, and I'm really looking forward to getting this car done. All right guys, we've gotten a lot done since my last update. Luckily my buddy Mike came down a few days and was helping me out because without him, we definitely wouldn't be where we're at. So we got the new K24A into this car. We pulled this motor out of that car. It's the motor that I've been running most of the season, but the built motor's in that car now. We're actually going to the dyno Friday with it. We were gonna do a time lapse of putting this motor in the white car, but we were test fitting it, had so many issues with how bent this car is. We decided just to leave it in there and make do. We almost have everything we need to get this thing fired up, but I'm missing some fuel fittings for the regulators. All right, we've almost gotten everything done on the white car and we are getting ready to load it. If you'll notice, we're pushing it on the trailer because we haven't gotten all the parts we need to get this thing running. We got to get loaded up to head to Dixie Speedway tomorrow. I'm actually going to pick up what we need on the way. And when we get to the track, we'll get this thing running. Not the way we wanted to do it, but the way we had to do it. Luckily, our boys at Jason Waters Tuning are gonna get us hooked up, get us what we need, and we'll get this thing running. Thankfully, I have Will here giving us a hand. He's actually going to take it back to Sumter tonight. That way Mike can hit the road in the morning. Big thanks for coming to help out. All right, guys, the first outing with the white car here behind me with the freshly swapped K-Series did not really go that well. We had taken it out to Dixie Speedway with the SCDRA Series, but we had issues in practice. We had issues in qualifying. We kept throwing off a serpentine belt, but we got it fixed for the B main. But unfortunately, we took some damage in the B main, and Mike was not able to continue the night. I really wish we could have seen what the car was going to do. Mike said it was handling great, so I'm really happy about that. That was one of my biggest worries going from the H-Series motor that was in it to a K-Series. If you guys remember, we fought a lot of issues with stage fright at first, but we were able to apply some of that knowledge when getting this car together, so it made it a little easier on us. I'm going to run it a couple times between now and the end of the year. I want to make sure we got all the bugs worked out of it, and to be honest, I want to see how it pairs up against stage fright. Before I wrap this video up, I'm going to disassemble the old H motor. I'm thinking a rod probably came apart on that thing. Hopefully it's not a total loss. I'd like to be able to sell some of it and kind of recoup my losses, because doing this K-Series swap was not cheap. Anyway, let's get into that and see what type of carnage was left behind. So as suspected, the damage is pretty bad. The block is definitely toast, but surprisingly, the head is all right. If you guys look at this, the piston hit cylinder number 1, that's about it, but it just bent a couple valves, and it doesn't really look like it hurt the head. The head's probably salvageable, but block's a different story. You got a couple pieces of the rod here, the cap that's not so symmetrical anymore, and a couple rod bolts. I'm guessing either a rod bolt broke or a bearing spun and seized the rod to the crank. I'm not really sure, but I think the rod breaking was kind of aftermath after the whole thing. Everything isn't a total loss, but it's pretty close. And the funny part about this whole deal is that me and Jason, these kids were trying to film videos and they just keep yelling in the background. Anyway, like I was saying, the funny thing is me and Jason had just talked about rebuilding this motor. It didn't make it that far, so it is what it is. Luckily, we had the other car there that weekend. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. I'm gonna give it over to Wyatt to send us out. Tell him to hit the like button, share this thing to a friend, and subscribe to the channel. Don't touch me with your slobbery hands. Say bye.
Bye.